Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy podcast, Real Talk, where we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between with building a work from home business. And I'm so excited for today. Today, we have Deanna Rogers and we also have Hannah Shea from our team who's going to talk with us today about marketing, about some AI tools you can use in your marketing as bookkeepers, and a little bit about her story and about how she found using some transferable skills from other things that she's good at in her life into forging a new career path for herself.
Now, behind every successful business is a story. It's one of courage, creativity, and taking control of your future. This is the Stay at Home Bookkeeper podcast where we do real talk, where we share real stories, we share real struggles and real successes of people who've built freedom-based businesses. So if you're ready to design a business that fits your life, or maybe you're just ready to scale your existing business and hear real talk from those doing it, you're in the right place. So let's kick things off today, Emily.
Okay, hello everybody. We have Hannah here with us. Hannah, how you doing?
Hi, I'm really good. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. So we have Hannah. Hannah is our marketing program manager here at the Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy. Hannah does lots of amazing things, but she does things like setting up websites and done for you social media for our bookkeepers. She edits videos and content. She does some of our own social media and graphics here at the Academy. She does lots of great support and creative work inside of our marketing department as a whole. But something unique about Hannah that I want to share is she is also a musician and a singer and an entrepreneur in all of that. But what makes Hannah really cool and her story very powerful is she did not start as a marketer. She has built some very good skills by learning how to say yes, learning on the fly, applying some of that creativity and problem solving. And so today we're going to talk a lot about her story, about marketing, some things you can do with bookkeeping, and I'm just excited. So, Hannah, all of that to say, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do every day here at the Stay Home Bookkeeper?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that was such a great introduction. I don't even know how much I have to add to it. You the podcast for me. Thanks, Emily. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I have my hands on a lot of different tasks here at the Academy. Day to day, I'm talking one-on-one with our students as they're getting their bookkeeping businesses up off the ground, and looking to market their businesses by creating a website, by starting their social media posting and building that social media presence, filing their LLCs. I kind of oversee a lot of that process to make sure that those things are running smoothly, that they have their LLCs set up. We have a logo creation service. So there's a lot of balls in the air here at the Academy. And just kind of I'm always working with those students just to make sure that their needs are being met, that their vision is really coming to life. And then also doing a lot of the content creation for the Academy as well, which Emily mentioned so nicely. I love that I get to kind of create on a day-to-day basis, whether that be, graphics for our social media channels or editing videos for our YouTube channel, course videos for our actual Bookkeeper Academy, editing those videos from time to time when we're updating our materials. So there's lots of things going on and lots of exciting things always happening here at the Academy.
Yeah, so y'all can go check out all of our different channels and see a lot of the great work that Hannah does. But Hannah, I would love for you to share a little bit in this role as you've come to work here. You've learned some new things about marketing. Are there any specific tasks, anything that you came here and you kind of had to learn on the go? Say, yeah, sure, I'll do that, and then figure it out. I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, 100%. So Emily mentioned that my background in music. I'm a musician, so marketing myself is something that I've always been kind of familiar with. But there's a lot of things when it comes to marketing a business that you kind of have to tweak and adapt. There's things like video editing as a whole, I really didn't know anything about before I came here. But Emily asked, hey, Hannah, can you create some videos for us? And I just kind of said, sure. And I figured it out as I
The
went. And
power of saying sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a try, and if it fails, it fails, but at least I'll have tried. And if we want to do something else, then we'll do something else. But it's gone pretty well so far, I'll say. But yeah, so I mean, I've kind of taught myself a lot of video editing skills and learned about just kind of marketing a business as opposed to just marketing myself. Kind of, there's a lot more that goes into that, into the storytelling and all of that as well.
So, have you always had that skill of, I'm going to keep joking about the power of saying sure, had that skill set of being able to get try something new that maybe you haven't been taught or haven't had experience in, or is it a skill that you've had to develop over time? I ask this because we have a lot of people in our audience who are learning how to be business owners and
Yeah.
sometimes get scared of trying to market themselves, trying to learn new skills. So I'm curious, where did this come from?
I think that I have always kind of been that person. It
Okay.
just kind of is part of who I am. I think back to even when I was in like high school and, a teacher would ask me to lead up a club and I would just be like, yeah, sure, we'll start a literary society or whatever. We need a president of the drama club. Like, okay. I don't know. I feel like I've always kind of had that like I don't want to say yes, man, because I feel like that kind of has a bad connotation, but like I'll try anything, and
Mhm.
just kind of go for it. And also that there's like a leadership element in that too, where it's just like, hey, can you figure out how to do this or can you lead this thing? And it's like, yeah, sure. I mean, I kind of like taking
Mhm.
that initiative. And I think, I mean, for people starting a business, it is just so important to just give something a try, to just say yes. Even if you don't know all of the steps involved, you just kind of have to give it a go and keep doing the next right thing. Even if you don't know how to do the entire picture, just give it a try and learn as you go and research. And eventually you'll look back and be like, wow, I didn't know how to do that like 3 months
Mhm.
ago. And you're just always learning and evolving. But I do think that I've always kind of been that person who just wants to always try new things.
I love that you demonstrated that for our audience of new business owners. Sometimes you just have to say yes and then figure it out. And of course, we think it's important to have a community mentorship to help you along the way. We have Hannah here who helps our bookkeepers with their social media and their content and their marketing. But I want to go into that a little bit. Do you have any tips, maybe some content that is working right now for bookkeepers? Let's start to talk a little bit about the marketing side.
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. So there's, I don't know, there's a lot of different things that I feel like I'm seeing working really well for our students. Obviously, we're in an age of video marketing, with TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of those things. All of these platforms are really favoring video content. So I tell all of our students, don't be afraid to post a short, 10-second video introducing yourself or with a really quick tip about, like bookkeeping for a small business. Um, Anything that is like a little tip or a little piece of information to kind of help your audience with, whatever their business needs might be. I feel like those always perform really well. But if you can make anything a video these days, I say make it a video. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be super edited. You don't need a super fancy camera or a fancy light, just good natural lighting and an engaged personality will get you, like pretty far on social media these days. And if it's just, people want to see that you're human also, because,
Mhm.
so much is AI these days.
Mhm.
We see so many ads that are just, you look at it and you're like, obviously that's AI, that's not
Mhm.
a real person. They have an extra finger or whatever. So if you can, put your real human image with just
Mhm.
10 fingers, out into the world, then, like that goes a long way. And just to show that you really genuinely care about your business, that you care about helping people, helping your clients, stay organized or whatever it is, just sharing that authentic message will get you so far. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Mhm.
You don't have to overthink it. Again,
Mhm.
just do it. Just get kind of what we were talking about, just a minute ago. Just try something. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, then try something new next time, but just keep putting yourself out there and keep testing to see, what works, what doesn't, and you'll figure it out from there.
I think we need to
I love
hashtag
that. Go
I think
ahead.
we need to hashtag it and say, give it a go. Like that's going to be Hannah's thing. Like everybody's talking, give it
Just
a go.
give it a
Hashtag
go.
give it a go. But I will say, I agree with you on that because I think right now, when I personally start watching videos, I'm leaning towards watching the ones that I know that are real and authentic and that are less polished than the ones that are just all polished. Like I want to know the real nitty gritty behind something, the real authentic side versus, oh, this professional. So I mean, we're seeing this. It was there was this pendulum of like everyone went to these polished videos and made all these polished things, but now it's like, no, I just want to know. Tell me what it is that I need to know. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, 100%. We're all just humans at the end of the day, right? And
Right.
like we want to see the person behind the business. In addition to
Mhm.
obviously having a really polished image for your business, that's really important. Obviously having really good solid branding and all of that, but also we want to know the person who you're working with, especially when you're a bookkeeper and you're working with your clients one-on-one, showing them a little bit of who you are before they
Mhm.
get to work with you is only going to work in your favor.
Do
So
you think that that's why selfie videos do so well is because you're able to capture that or
I think so. And there's something just like seeing a little peek into someone's life, if they're just like in the kitchen making coffee, or they're just like walking the dog, or, they're like out at the park with their kids or something like that. Like again, you're just showing your audience that you're a person. You're not like this unattainable figure, like you're approachable. And I think just the simplicity of it just again makes you approachable, trustworthy, right off the bat.
I love that. And so, Hannah, you're really good at the creative side of the social media and the advertising marketing that we do. But you're also good at the organizational, operational side as well. So, do you have any tips for our bookkeepers who are wondering how to organize their content, maybe put a calendar together, how you might suggest they structure that if they're wanting to have a self accountability and get to posting, but are kind of overwhelmed by the whole process?
Sure. Again, I don't my thing, like I'm very organized. Emily and I talk a lot during the day because Emily's also like you're an organizer, you're a planner. I don't know. I feel like our brains kind of work in similar ways, But again, you don't have to overcomplicate it. I have an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Docs spreadsheet that I kind of form into a calendar view. I have a calendar view version and a list view version that's like a little bit more comprehensive.
Mhm.
But, I make a lot of our graphics in a Canva or something like that. I'm just to stay organized. I make sure that I name the files with the date that it's being posted, or,
Mhm.
if I'm sharing it in a newsletter, the date of the newsletter that's going to be published. Um, I keep all of the finalized images in a folder that's just like January 2026, February 2026. And then each file is already named with the date. So it's all there and you have a nice little archive. And then just a spreadsheet that has your captions in it,
Mhm.
the date of the post that's going to go out and a little caption. And, if you're sharing a link or something, or if you're sharing a specific, if it's related to a specific campaign or something like that. Just
Mhm.
keeping a log of all of that and then maybe a little link to whatever image in Canva you're using. It doesn't have to be complicated. So I just keep a simple spreadsheet with a folder that's kind of, attached to it. And I keep all my images. I try to keep everything in one place as best I can. Obviously, not perfect, but I try my best.
I think it looks pretty good on our side. And so we talked a little bit about AI and maybe the cons of AI with the 11 fingers and the crazy videos and things getting wrong. But we also know AI can be a really good tool to help you with content creation. So I'd love to know a little bit, how have you learned to use AI in your workflow when making content, and what some thoughts on how other bookkeepers can use it to help them in their process?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, AI is a great tool, and there's so many different AI tools like under the AI umbrella too.
Mhm.
Um, I I love using a program like ChatGPT as kind of a brainstorming tool. Just something to kind of bounce ideas off of. Or, I'll say, this is what I'm creating. I'm creating a campaign for this period of time to promote this thing that's happening in the academy. Create a social media plan for me. And the more detailed you can be and the more information you give the AI, the better it's going to be at creating a plan that is actually in line with your vision for it and with your brand voice and all of those things. So my advice to which I talk to a lot of students who are like, can you write a bio for me for my website? And I say, no, you have to write a bio, but you can also use ChatGPT to write a bio for you. But just tell ChatGPT who you are and it'll write a really great bio for you.
Mhm.
So I tell our students that all the time, and it works with something like social media too. You teach
Mhm.
AI about your business's mission, about who you are as a person, about your personality, the brand voice that you want to use. Do you want it to be a really serious kind of like super credible brand voice, or are you a little bit more approachable, friendly? You want some humor sprinkled into your social media plan. You teach the AI what you want from it, really, the kind of content you want it to create. And you say, I'm creating a social media plan for the month of, March or something. I want you to give me seasonally appropriate content, pay attention to any holidays, like if you want a St. Patrick's Day post or whatever,
Mhm.
give me holiday posts. I want to post this often. So, I don't need 31 posts. I only need like posts for every other day or 3 days a week. And this is what I really want to promote during this time. And it'll create a whole plan for you. And that plan maybe shouldn't be like the final plan, look at it with human eyes and edit it as you need to. But AI is really great for just brainstorming things like that or giving you a framework to work off of.
Mhm.
And
And
then
When
I,
it builds, it can grow, right?
yeah.
Like, and the more you add to it, and the more it's like a child. It grows with you. So you got to keep doing it. You got to keep
Mhm.
flexing that AI muscle and adding more to
Mhm.
it, and sharing and dropping things in because it gets to know you as you add to it. And I think that's what's cool is don't be afraid of it. Like embrace it. And we
Mhm.
talked about this. I know Emily, you and I have talked about this on previous podcasts about don't be afraid of it, but embrace it because it actually makes your work better. It takes the overwhelm out and it allows you to work more efficiently and faster, right? So just know that it's a tool. It's not scary at all. And the more you add and plug more things into it, it gets your voice better and it's perfected as you work through it.
Mhm.
100%. And it's constantly learning. And, something that I've learned just having, been in this role for a while now is that different platforms do things kind of better than other platforms. So like recently I think that a lot of people probably know about this platform, but there's an AI platform called Claude, Claude, and it's really good specifically at like the copywriting side of things. So, you can use Claude or ChatGPT to, create a plan for you to write out all those captions. You can pull whichever ones you like from either of them. They're all free. There's a free version of most of them, and you just kind of learn what works best for you, and it keeps learning you, and you just kind of it snowballs into this really efficient process.
But
Mhm.
here's a
And
pointer, just in case y'all have never known this, but this is for all of y'all listening. Maybe I'm just brand new at this, but I will tell you that use one email account with one chat GPT account and stick to it and don't try to change because when you change it, you lose it all, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you can't transfer it over from like, let's say you have a personal email and then you have your work email like stick to one and use that one and build it all in that one so it gets your voice, it hears you, it builds on that. And the reason why I say this because I had a personal one and I actually yesterday was trying to transfer over to my work one thinking I just want to create over here. No, you can't do that. You have to start all over, brand new. Boy, don't do that. So find the one that you want it to. Maybe it's your business email
Mhm.
and just build it from there. And because you're building the business, you're building the baby, and it's trying to understand you. So don't go back and forth, or else you're going to be missing parts of that.
Mhm.
100%. Yeah.
And if I can offer a little bit of a tip too, I know we've experienced some students who get overwhelmed, even the thought of it. I mean, Hannah just gave a lot of good different prompts that you can use, but are still overwhelmed with the idea. I like to use, I'm gonna call it reverse prompting. I don't know if that's actually a term, but literally asking ChatGPT, Claude, any type of AI, I need to make social media posts for my business. I don't know what to ask you. Tell me what to ask you so you can help me make a plan. Or tell me what to ask you so you can help me come up with posts. And then it will literally give you questions to answer about your business. Um, and then you can even go a step further and say, okay, here's all the information. Give me a prompt to give you to accomplish XYZ goal, and it will create a better prompt than what you could probably make up in your head. At least that's what I've experienced. Have you done that at all, Hannah?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's like my favorite little, it's like reverse psychology, but with a robot.
Yes.
Like, it's just great. I mean, especially if, yeah, like you don't really quite know how to word everything, or it's going to take you a really long time to like describe everything that you need. It just kind of helps you skip a step and get to the
Mhm.
result a little faster. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do.
I love that. So we've talked a lot about marketing and AI and a couple things to do there, but I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a bit about your story. And I'm going to pre-frame this because our audience is full of mostly people who are wanting to build a bookkeeping business or build some type of business that they don't necessarily have experience in. We do come across people who have experience in finance, accounting, other backgrounds who go into bookkeeping, but primarily we'll have people who are teachers and nurses, stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home parents. Maybe they haven't had specific job training and then decide they want to learn a new skill and build a business out of it. And I think you resonate with this in a bit of your life trajectory, I will say. So I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about your background becoming a singer and then deciding, maybe I want to do something supplemental to this musician career and getting into marketing and things like that. But I want to talk a little bit about that in your life, if you don't mind sharing for everybody.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so my background is in music, more specifically classical music. My other love and passion is opera performance. I have two degrees in music, a bachelor's and a master's degree in vocal performance, specifically in the classical music kind of niche. And I've worked for years as a professional opera singer. That is like my other life. And I'm very lucky to say that that is my other life, and it brings me so much joy. It really, like fills my cup, and it's great, and I love it so much. But I think the stereotypes around like being a musician and the life of a musician being very hard, there's some truth to it. And I'm lucky to say that like for, a while I was paying all my bills as being a professional opera singer. And then COVID came around and kind of really did a number on the live performance industry as a whole, but specifically like classical music industry kind of really suffered. So a lot of classical singers, classical musicians are looking for stability in other industries because there's just not as much work as there was before 2020. And I'm someone who I also, so let me back up a little bit. The classical music industry is all gig work. You're an independent contractor for a company, for an opera company for a month or 6 weeks at a time. And then you move on to the next gig and you kind of jump around, and it's this little nomadic gig life. Which is great, but sometimes there's going to be gaps in your work too. So I was someone who, like I'm responsible with my money, but I don't like going like a month without any income coming in. And that's just kind of the life of the musician, is like you get a paycheck in October and then you might not get another paycheck until December, or, whenever your next gig is. So I'm someone who really wanted stability. I wanted just regular money coming in, and that kind of encouraged me to look elsewhere. And also look inside and kind of really evaluate kind of what skills do I have as someone who has two degrees in music,
Mhm.
and has worked as a musician, but like how do I sell myself to another industry?
Mhm.
What skills do I have that I can market? In looking at other jobs that I've learned from classical music that I can apply to other things. And that was a big kind of soul searching thing. And that's a whole conversation. We could dive into that if you
Well,
want
I
to.
love this is
Yeah.
because we people who come into our ecosystem have that same commonality of something is no longer serving me, or I want to make a different level of income. I want a certain kind of stability, but I want some kind of change, right? And that's scary. That pivot is scary, especially if you're pivoting into something you don't quite have experience in yet. So, and I don't want to speak for your experience, but did you experience some of that fear deciding I need to pivot? I've got some skills, but I got to figure out how I'm going to make this work.
100% yes, always. Because like you really have to evaluate, I mean, you're evaluating what you want to change in your
Hmm.
personal life, why
Hmm.
things need to change in your personal life, what's serving you, what's not serving you. And you have to also decide like the ratio of your time that you want to commit to these different things. Do you want just a side hustle? Do you want to completely change careers?
Hmm.
Do you just need like a little bit of extra income to like help make ends meet? And so there's a lot of evaluation that happens in that. And I don't know, I'm someone who tends to like spiral about things, if you can tell. But you kind of evaluate those things, and all of a sudden it kind of can snowball into this or
Hmm.
spiral into this like thing, and you kind of have to like bring yourself out of it and say, I'm evaluating this because I want to improve my life,
Hmm.
not because I want to beat up on myself and all the changes that or the choices that I've made up until this point, but I want to
Hmm.
change something. And to change something, I have to acknowledge the things that aren't working and the things that are working and just adjust. So that's, of course, really scary. And there's just a lot of like meditation that needs to happen and all of that just to make sure that, you're reminding yourself
That
that you're
was really, yeah, I hate to interrupt you, but I don't know, that got me choked up a little bit. That's really important, I think. That being I wish I had like a replay button, and maybe we'll just need to loop this back because I thought that was really powerful. The willingness to take a step back and reevaluate your life and decide maybe choosing another path is not betraying all of the work I've done. It's just
Mhm.
choosing something that's going to serve me differently. And I think, and Deanna, I'd love your perspective on this too. I think there's a fear that lives in there with people that where they think if I'm going to choose to try something new in my life, that means that I was wasting my life for the first 10 years of my career, or it's too late, or how can I try something new? How can I learn something new? I think that's a powerful realization that you've had, Hannah, that I think people should lean into.
Well, and I think too, like you just said, you said, I've got this master's and degree, and you've got 2 degrees in music, and you've spent a lot of time, a lot of years, and a lot of money to get that
Mhm.
education. And it's very clear when you talk that this is a passion. You
Mhm.
love singing. You love that, right? And I think some people are afraid to let go of that piece of what they love, what they've tried to do.
Mhm.
And when you go and start another business, you're not letting go. You can truly say, I'm adding to. Right.
Mhm.
I like to look at this as I'm adding to my portfolio. If any of y'all know, my husband and I, we have a portfolio of multiple businesses. And that's important for you to understand that you're adding to your portfolio. Hannah can still have her music business. She can add to her portfolio and say, I'm adding this on as another element because what do we believe in? Multiple streams of income. That
Mhm.
is what you guys need to be listening and hearing. It's okay to still do what you love. If you love music and you want to do that and you're passionate, guess what? This business is perfect because you can work when you want to work and where and how. And she doesn't have to give up her music, her passion, her desire. She can do things in conjunction with that. But again,
Mhm.
she's building her portfolio, she's adding a new business to her portfolio, and she's able to do it to where she's able to do both and still do what she loves and still bring in a multiple streams of income. And that's so clear to me. And I loved it because I mean, some of you are only hearing, but we can see and hear her voice when she's talking about how much she loves the music. And by adding this new business on, she's just adding a new layer. And that's important for everyone hearing that to identify. You may love something and you're just adding to your portfolio.
100%. And, I had a professor tell us in college, like, I took an entrepreneurship class in college, like entrepreneurship for musicians. And I remember my professor saying, have multiple streams of income so that your other streams of income can support your passions and it takes
Mhm.
the pressure off of your passion. So, like I still love to sing. I still, perform opera. I have, contracts coming up in the spring. Um, but I don't have to take every single job, even if it's a job that I don't want to do. Like if it's an
Mhm.
opera that I don't really want to do, or if it doesn't really fit my voice, or, it's just kind of like a not great company or whatever. I have the support of, other um, careers, passions, side hustles, whatever you want to call it, that support that thing that I'm most passionate about, and it takes the pressure off of those things.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think having that balance and having options is just
Mhm.
always a good thing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I love that. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. And something else I'd like to talk a little bit about um, is your willingness to learn and try new things. And I'm curious, do you have a moment um, when you started getting into marketing, this side of a career that you are really, really good at now, but did you have a moment when you realized, oh, maybe I can pretty much learn or do anything if I just try?
I don't know that I have a specific moment. I might have to think about that for a second. I don't know. I mean, I really just think back, like even before I started working with stay-at-home bookkeeper and just applying for jobs and all of those things. And I think I remember actually talking to ChatGPT. We already talked about AI, but I really think I I was like talking to ChatGPT one day, my best friend.
My AI therapist.
Yeah, my AI therapist, and just saying like I'm a classically trained musician, and I want to apply for these types of jobs. I feel really drawn to marketing. I've always kind of felt drawn to marketing. Back in college I even did like marketing internships with opera companies, so that's a little fun fact about me. But I'm looking to apply for these marketing jobs, and I know that I have these skills. Like what is based off of what you know about me, like tell me, and about these careers, like what are some transferable skills? And I literally asked AI to help me figure it out. And it's listing out all these things. And I'm like, oh yeah, like this this does completely apply. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of have always had that connection between the two. I don't know
Mhm,
that there was a moment where I was like, yes, I'm a marketer.
mhm,
But,
mhm,
I think back to marketing myself as a musician and like I know what it's like to curate a brand or to
mhm,
think about the things that I want to portray. And so I think that there have always just been these kinds of lines of connection between
mhm.
the two. I can't think of a specific moment where it's like, yeah, I'll do this, but there's just always been a lot of overlap in the interests for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's been overlap, but there's also been an underlying willingness just to say yes and just go for it and try things. And we hope that this conversation inspires anybody who's listening that whether you're a teacher or a singer or a nurse, or maybe you have a background in finance, there are transferable skills there. Maybe you just need to go to your AI therapist and say, hey, I do this with my life. I want to be a bookkeeper. Help me become confident. What transferable skills that I have? But all jokes aside, just being open,
Mhm.
open to the possibility and trusting yourself that you can learn and you can build something. You have that skill set.
Right. And that'll serve you in all things, right? Not just like, I want to adapt to this entrepreneurial spirit and, start a business, but I've been working in corporate for my entire life. Like, how am I going to do that? But like adapting the mindset of, like I'll try anything once will just kind of expand
Mhm,
your horizons as a human and just
mhm,
open up a lot of doors for you. The more open you are to receiving new experiences and trying new things and just going for it, like the more I genuinely believe the more like the universe will give back to you. So just putting yourself out there and adapting that like why not mindset will just kind of naturally open doors, I think. And that's something that I just try to remind myself of in all things, whether it's like trying a new food that I'm like scared to try, or like trying to learn a new skill that I think will
mhm,
make me better at my job,
mhm,
like just saying yes and, like we said, hashtag give it a go, like
mhm.
just try it.
I love it. I think that's a great place to wrap up, Hannah. We're so appreciative of you and your time. And I think if we can just end this with hashtag just give it a
Give
go.
it a go.
And everybody take that throughout their week. We love everybody who is listening. Your challenge for the week is to find a new skill that you can just try. That whether it's using AI to help you create some social media, maybe it's using AI to help you understand transferable skills you have to build this business. But we hope you found some inspiration from this podcast. Thank you to Hannah. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Deanna. This was a really, really fun conversation. I enjoyed it. And as always, we would love to be your accountability partner, your mentor going through this journey if you choose to build a bookkeeping business. I know Hannah would love to help you with your website and social media. So, y'all, leave us a comment. Let us know some feedback. Let us know what you want to learn. Do you want to learn more about marketing in this conversation we've had today? And be sure to follow our podcast and our channel. And we will see you on the next episode.
So just remember, give it a go. Hashtag give it a go. We want you to all take action. Do that this week. Post in the chat what you're doing. What are you doing to give it a go? And we'll see you on our next episode next week on the Stay at Home Bookkeeper podcast. And we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.